Hello, my little piggies. Welcome to I Am a Bit of an Expert, a Peppa Pig podcast. I'm your host, Josh Chapman. And blowing in down the line, no pun intended, is the other host, Matt Frost. Hey, Matt.
Good evening, Josh. How are you?
I'm all right. That was a bit of a poor pun on Windy Castle, but,
No, don't beat yourself up. I thought it was pretty good.
It's not too bad. It's not too bad on that one. It's not too bad. So, Windy Castle today, it's a bit of a funny one. It sort of goes in a few different directions this episode, doesn't it?
Yeah, when I told my Soraya, my 6-year-old piggy, that we were watching this one, she confused it with the later episode because Windy Castle, as a local landmark, actually features in another couple of later ones.
Yeah, it did sound familiar to me when it sort of happened. I was going, I wonder, I feel like that's something that happened later on, but this is the Windy Castle year one.
Yeah, it's the origin story of Windy
story of Windy Castle. So what goes down in Windy Castle, mate?
Well, it's basically the family are going on a day trip to a local landmark, which is I actually find this episode quite charming because when I was living in England, initially I was living down in Eastbourne and near Brighton, and there's quite a lot of these little local landmarks, old forts from, whatever war against the French and stuff like that, that you can sort of go visit, and you can go there and
potter around.
They're not all that, but
England's quite good for that because it's England's not a very big country, and there's actually quite a lot of cool little things that you can see. And certainly Australia isn't a country that has a lot of castles and things. I remember when I was growing up, we had zero. When I was growing up, we had a thing near us just out of town that used to be called the Fairy Castle, and you drive and you'd be driving past and say, "Oh, look out there! There's the Fairy Castle." And I think it was just like a milk silo or something like that, Years later, you go past like, oh, it's just a concrete milk silo or something. It's not a fairy castle, but it was that's the Fairy Castle that you'd be looking out at.
Oh my god, it's just to distract the Chapman children for just 10 minutes as we drive past this thing.
As you drive past, you're like, oh yeah, there it is. I guess how many fairies are in there? I'm not sure. I'll have to find. Next time I'm down there, I'll find out if it's still there and if I can pull the wool over Olive's eyes and say that we'll go out to the Fairy Castle.
Did you have any local things down in Leagatha?
As in like landmarks?
Yeah.
We had. There's like the giant worm, which was in the rival town that they had. That was sort of like the big thing. The Shelbyville, the Currumbara down there. We had, probably the closest thing we had was a place at the back of behind the end of town, which it wasn't far from the Fairy Castle, called Knox's Quarry. And it was basically it was sort of like the tallest hill in the area. And basically there was a quarry at the back, and the family that owned it was the Knox family. And they were digging stuff out of the back of it for years and stuff. I think they still are. But basically what it was most famous for was a thing called the hill climb, where basically all the local yahoos would try to drive their dirt bikes up Knox's Quarry. And they do it every year, and then all the people with motorbikes would come up and they'd try to get to the top of this thing, Knox's Quarry on the dirt bikes. And years and years and years ago, my dad got himself a motorbike, and he was going to go up Knox's Quarry. And I distinctly remember having getting a motorbike. Dad never had a motorbike before, certainly not at home. He grew up on farms, so he probably tore around on some. And basically, Dad went out there to take the dirt bike up to practice and fell off and broke his collarbone. And we never had a motorbike in the house ever again after that.
That seems like a very justified end to that story. I think.
Yeah,
I don't know your dad, but I think he probably deserved that.
Yeah, I think Mum put the kibosh on the dirt bikes and stuff after that. So I think basically, I don't think they do it anymore. I think the quarry got so kind of dug out that it wasn't safe to go up the top, to climb to the top anymore. And I think motorbikes just got better as well. That you could basically.
Oh, it was too easy.
Yeah, I think there was a bit of that.
Yeah.
I'd have to find out. I could probably ask ask next time I'm down there. I'll find out what the status of the hill climb is, and I'll get back. But it was certainly a thing back in the day when we were young, all the local yahoos, my dad included, tearing up this hill on dirt bikes.
Sounds
so that was sort of our local
a major part of the yahooing.
Yeah, that's right. So that was that was sort of the local landmark. How about you?
We're pretty lucky in Narracourt, the town I grew up in. We had the Narracourt Caves, which are like a World Heritage listed landmark. But I probably think the thing that really sticks out is that there was a thing called the Tiny Train Park. I think that's probably
the petite train.
Well, it was actually a tiny train that you could ride on instead of a made-up fairy castle on about some milk silos like you had. But that's probably the closest we had, I think.
I've just done a quick little Google search here, and I found an article from the Southern Star, which is the local rag down in Leongatha where I grew up. And it's Last Hooray for Hill Climb. And this is from Wednesday, June the 12th, 2013. So it said over 200 hopefuls took off to try and get to the top. Over the past 37 years, thousands of motorbike riders have taken to the hill with only a select few claiming they have beaten it. Due to the
claiming, like there's no verified?
Well, I think it's somewhat organised. Due to the quarry over the crest of the hill, it will no longer be safe to ride on. So there you go. And no more. R.I.P. Hill Climb.
Yeah. Local saxophonist was quoted in this article, or?
Well, I think there's probably more blokes who broke their collarbones than actually climbed it, I think. But so there you go. There's a little bit of local knowledge, but there's no hill climb. I mean, they should do the hill climb in Pepperland. There's bloody hills everywhere.
Oh,
all those cars do, and in fact, they do the hill climb in this episode.
They do, correct? Yeah, I think Windy Castle, like it's not it's something we can really relate to in Australia. I don't think we really have those particular landmarks. So.
No, not at all. So the family basically are off. They're going to go to Windy Castle. Doesn't seem to be any kind of GPS or Google Maps or anything in the car here. So Daddy Pig is got the map out, and Mummy Pig's driving, and Daddy Pig's having a bit of a hard time with the maps. He had a bit of a hard time with maps in Treasure Hunt as well. Correct. And he almost kind of loses his rag here, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's on the. I think looking at Daddy Pig, he's a magnificent man. He's a hero of mine. But like when you are really failing at something, and your wife rings her dad, that's gonna sting a bit. So, and she does. Granddad Pig, great advice. Finds a way.
Well, Grandpa Pig basically just says stay on the road.
Yeah.
So they were were going the right way.
No seatbelts again too. I don't know.
No seatbelts again. No left-hand drive as well. So the little red car we're still watching the unedited, pure episodes as we like to call them.
Oh gee, yeah. I think Daddy Pig, he's a flawed person. This is not his finest moment. How are you with maps and directions then?
Not great, but I just rely on the Google now, so I'm not too bad. I mean, when I moved to Melbourne as an 18-year-old, and when I got a car, I didn't get a car till I was about 20, but I had the Melways. I'm not sure what they call it in Adelaide, the street directory.
UBD. That's
yeah.
What a UBD.
The Melways was the big street directory, and that you get it. But I was never great at it. I kind of could figure out where I was, the places I had to get to, if I was driving to uni or work later on in places and friends' places and stuff, I could kind of do that. But I didn't grow up in Melbourne, so I didn't really know my way around apart from that. And even now, we've moved to a different area of Melbourne when we bought our house, and I knew bits of it. But even now, I still go, "Oh, what's that road? What's that road?" And Kat, she grew up around here, so she knows all the back streets and all the sweet little directions and things. But it's sort of the event of the smartphone, the sort of the bickering over the map and the directions is a thing of the past, really, isn't it?
Is it though?
Well, you can kind of blame Google rather than blaming the.
Yeah, I think me and Karina, my mummy pigs, use all that technology and still end up
driving off the pier into the water or something.
Yeah. My Karina likes to use phrases like "go up" or "go down," which, like, if you're not an aeroplane or a submarine, is pretty hard. So, I don't know. It's pretty weird. I've always had a pretty good sense of direction. So, but I've always had good friends and stuff that have zero. So it's
if you're not the worst, it's always okay.
You just got to aim for mediocrity, really.
Yeah, that's right. So I was just checking if Mummy Pig actually pulls the car over when she pulls the phone out. She's not driving and talking on the phone, but it does look like that she does actually stop the car before she pulls. And I know this is 2005. Not everyone's got mobile phones and cars. These days you can't touch your phone. You can't do anything with your phone, rightfully so. I sit in my car all the time and see people, dicking around on their phones and things while they're driving, and so I always try to keep my hands off the phone while I can. So I was just making sure that Mummy Pig is playing by the rules here.
Yeah, I think but when you don't have your seatbelt on, is that really
yeah. Well, that would have been the double whammy, wouldn't it? There would have been the no seatbelt and talking on the mobile phone. She could have lost her license in one hit.
Yeah. Mummy Pig in chains. So.
And then I guess if Mummy Pig did get pulled over, and she's on her phone and she's got no seatbelt and the kids have got no seatbelt on, that's a triple banger, isn't it?
I think you're getting locked up.
Yeah. Wow. There's a very special episode of Peppa Pig right there. Mummy Pig does time.
I don't know where we're going now, Josh.
No. It's all right. We're on track here. So they get the directions from Grandpa Pig. He says, stay on the road. Daddy Pig takes it in his stride. He actually takes it pretty well, even though he's kind of been usurped by his father-in-law. And, talking hill climbs, they sort of are going up this, wow, God, it's almost a 90-degree angle of a hill, isn't it? I mean, there's hills in Pepper, but this is something different. This is their own personal hill climb.
Well, it's funny you mention that. This now reminds me of there's a place where I did my tertiary education, which was called trade school, called Mount Gambier, and they have a thing called Centenary Tower, which looks quite a bit like Windy Castle. And that is also a brutally steep road. And so this was getting quite real at this point.
Oh, yeah. The car sort of struggles to make its way up. You wouldn't want to have to... I mean, luckily there's no traffic lights. You don't have to do a handbrake start off the hill or anything like that if they're driving a manual.
Yeah, especially if you can't find reverse. So.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. There's quite a brutal hill near where we live, and... friends of mine had said when they were learning to drive, they would just avoid that hill because they didn't want to have to try and do a handbrake start on it.
Yeah, we actually live on one of the steepest hills in Adelaide. So it's we've lost many a tennis ball just
rolling down the hill.
Yeah. There's only so much a 40 plus year old dad with a dad bod can do chasing a tennis ball down a road, like at some point you've just got to say goodbye to it.
Yeah, we can always buy more.
Yeah.
So they get to Windy Castle, and it's certainly up a very high hill. It's up with the clouds, and there doesn't seem to be any... I was kind of expecting to see Miss Rabbit kind of, at the top selling tickets or something, but...
God, that would have been good.
they missed a little trick there. So you basically the family just jump in and help, straight up the castle, up the thing, and they hit the telescope, and they can see Granny and Grandpa's pig's house.
Yeah, and then looks like they live on a bit of an acreage too. So
yeah, they've got a little bit of land. Well, I guess they've got the they've got the garden, and they've got the orchard, and
2 apple trees.
Yeah, so they don't seem to have too many immediate neighbours either. They've got a nice little spot there, and they give them a call and look at them through the telescope and give them a little wave, and there you go. That's the episode. So not a bad little episode, and I think made more to show the real frailties of Daddy Pig. I think of a man sort of probably pushed a little further than normal.
Yeah, it's not quite falling down with Michael Douglas, but it's close.
No,
so.
He doesn't quite lose his rag. I think weaker daddies may have lost their rag by then.
Yeah, but that's not our Daddy Pig. So
no,
yeah, he took it in his stride.
He did, and that's all we can ask, really. So, good, fun little episode. Any closing thoughts on this one, mate?
I think it was really worth it for the banter between Mummy and Daddy Pig. It's a real sign that they're really sort of making it very much a family show. So there aren't many Mummy and Daddy Pigs that haven't argued over directions in their time. So and it was just a nice episode. You got to see a bit of geography of the town too. Yeah,
exactly. Always good to see a little bit in there. So if you want to follow us on social media, you can follow us at Peppa Pig Pod. We've been reasonably active on the Twitter. To be honest, I've been a little bit less active on it just because every time I was searching for Peppa Pig stuff, I kept getting that scary Momo thing, and I didn't want to keep looking at it all the time. So I was kind of avoiding the Peppa Pig stuff for a while because I didn't like looking at it any more than a bunch of 3-year-olds having it, cut into their Peppa Pig episodes. But that all seems like it's died down now. So we'll be back being a little bit more active on the Twitters and things hopefully soon. Thank you for downloading. You can leave us a review if you like. And we'll be back next time with My Cousin Chloe, which is quite well known. If it's the episode I think it is, quite a few memes have come out of My Cousin Chloe. Good or for better or worse, for a bit of sizzle. But thanks again, Matt.
Well, thank you, Josh, and good night, my little piggies.
Yeah, we're playing a tune and we're singing a song with a bang and a bong and a bang. Bong, bang, boo, bing, bong, bing, bing, bong, bangly, bongly, boo. Bong, bing, boo, bing, bong, bing, bing, bong, bangly, bongly, boo.